Hi, Tammy, and thanks so much for joining us today. I wanted to talk to you about Guelph Museums. The museum has always been the guardian of our history, and the COVID-19 pandemic is a major moment in time. You've launched a new way of gathering experiences and objects. Can you tell me about rapid response collecting?
Oh, sure. Thank you, Jan, for having me today. During this time, that is going to be such a significant moment in our city's history, as well as really global history. We determined that it would be appropriate to, as the organization that keeps evidence of our community's history, it would be appropriate for us to start gathering objects and testimonials about how people are living through this time. And so that we are assured that we have a good, complete depiction of this time in history within our collection. And so that 100 years from now, when researchers are looking back on this time, when people are wanting to learn more about this time in our history and our community's response to this pandemic, that there will be materials and accounts of this history that they can rely on.
So, what types of things are you looking for?
We have put a call out to the community to suggest to us the types of objects, the testimonials that they think would be important in telling our story. And so we've put out a very broad call for that. We're looking for objects and images that reflect this time in our history. We're looking for personal accounts of how people were managing and coping with the effects of the pandemic, the self-isolation, and we're really looking particularly at evidence of the community's response at this time. We've been really moved by some of the expressions of support for healthcare workers and frontline workers. We've been very impressed with the innovation of Guelphites in terms of producing PPE or hand making masks, non-medical masks to support community members. And so those are the types of images and objects that caught our attention in the beginning, but we're really looking to the community to have them tell us their story so that we can capture that.
Yes, and I bet there's lots of really interesting stories coming out that perhaps we wouldn't even think of. And that's why opening it up to the community to offer their idea of what's important is quite interesting.
Well, we are a facility, an organization that reflects the community stories, and we like to think of ourselves as a conduit for community members to tell their own stories. And certainly, during this time, we're thinking about and really thinking about how to collect the diversity of stories that the pandemic is influencing right now, and that's something very important to us. I saw a meme the other day that said, "We may not all be in the same boat, but we're in the same storm." And certainly, we want to have a really good understanding of how this pandemic is affecting everybody in our community, and the diversity of those effects.
I know, like, did we ever think in our lifetime we'd be lined up to get into a grocery store? Did we ever
It,
think we'd see empty shelves in our lifetime? It's really remarkable.
it is really remarkable, and we have been reflecting on, who would have thought 2 months ago that we would be in this situation, and how it would impact our daily lives. And so it's a significant story that's going to have an impact in our community for a long, long time. And so we're really pleased with the response from the community and helping us to collect evidence of that story.
So tell us what the process is. How can people make suggestions or make donations?
So we are asking right now for people to contact us through email, through our website. There is a link to a form. We're asking for people to share their story with us on that form and to suggest objects or images that they have that they would be willing to contribute to the museum. Everything we bring into our collection will follow our standard collections process, or standard collections policy. We do have a mandate to collect objects and stories that relate specifically to Guelph and the citizens of Guelph. And so we will be putting all of the submissions through that filter to ensure that everything that we bring into our collection is in keeping with our collecting policy. We'll be reviewing all submissions, and then we will be reaching out to everyone who has made an offer of an object or an image or a story, and will then facilitate the acquisition of that material into our collection at that time. So we are asking people to follow that process. The museum is currently closed, and so there isn't an opportunity to interact with us personally, but through email, through the online form on our website, we look forward to hearing what the community has to contribute.
And of course, no one really knows a timeline for this, so I suspect you'll collect for a while, and people's stories may change from early in the pandemic to much later in the pandemic. It'll be interesting to see what happens over time. And then what are you going to do with everything that you collect?
Absolutely. And I should say that this type of rapid response collecting is a new process for us. Typically, when we're bringing stuff into our collection, it's coming to us decades after an event has happened. And it's coming from an individual or family who has found evidence of part of their story in their attic or basement. And so collecting in this more immediate way is a new process for us. We anticipate that the material we bring into our collection will be properly conserved and stored at the museum, and will be used for research purposes, for potential exhibition purposes down the road. All of our collection is available digitally online through our online database. And so we do expect that the community will have access to this material once it comes into our collection and is cataloged and then digitized. We look forward to receiving, we expect that, and we have already had a tremendous response to our call. So we do expect we'll be bringing in a lot of material in the short term. But like our standard collection practices, we do anticipate that we will continue collecting evidence of this story for years to come. And we're always wanting to hear from Guelphites about their stories and about the objects that help to tell those stories.
So let's just remind people where they get the information.
They can get the information at guelphmuseums.ca.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to a time when we can actually look back at this time in history. And thank you so much for doing this and taking people's stories, because it is important to remember.
It is important to remember. We can learn a lot from the actions that happen today, and they can help inform decisions that are made tomorrow. And so we appreciate the community's support of this initiative.